They say wars are won by generals, bombs, and bravery. But in the shadows of World War II, victory depended on something far stranger. A language no enemy could crack, carried across the radio by men whose ancestors had once been forbidden to speak it. Picture this: the Pacific Ocean, 1942. The air is thick with smoke and static. American troops are trapped, surrounded, their communications intercepted again and again. The Japanese are brilliant code breakers. Every message sent in English or standard cipher is cracked within hours. Thousands die because of a single word overheard. Then one day, everything changes. The messages start coming through in sounds the enemy can't identify. Not Morse, not any European tongue. The radio men on the other side listen, baffled. They record, replay, analyze. But the words move too fast, the tone too fluid, the meaning invisible. It sounds like wind, like song, like poetry from another world. That was the day the Navajo language entered the war. Before that moment, those same sounds had been punished out of existence. Native children had been beaten in boarding schools for speaking them. Their tongues, their stories, their prayers, silenced in the name of civilizing them. But now, that silenced voice would become America's greatest weapon. In 1942, a man named Philip Johnston, the son of missionaries who'd grown up among the Navajo in Arizona, approached the U.S. Marines with a wild idea. He told them, "You're searching for an unbreakable code. You already have it. It's called Navajo." The officers laughed at first. They'd never heard it. Fewer than 30 non-Navajos in the world could even understand it. Johnston convinced them to test it. He brought in 4 Navajo speakers and had them send a message across camp. The English sentence was complex: military coordinates, commands, and terms. It reached the receiver in Navajo and was translated back flawlessly, faster than any cipher machine. The Marines went silent. Then they said 4 words. "When can you start?" That's how it began. 29 young Navajo men were secretly recruited. They came from the desert, from sheep farms, from remote reservations. Some didn't even have birth certificates. They spoke English as a second language, yet they were about to design one of the most advanced communication systems in modern war. At Camp Pendleton, they began creating the code. It wasn't as simple as translating English into Navajo. They had to make it unbreakable, unpredictable, lightning fast. So they built a double layer, one level of meaning, then another hidden beneath. There was no word for tank in Navajo, so they said turtle. No word for fighter plane, so they used hummingbird. Submarine became ironfish. Grenade became potato. The word enemy, Joshcha. Every letter of the English alphabet had a Navajo counterpart using animal names. A for ant, B for bear, C for cat, and so on. They memorized it all. Nothing was written down. If captured, they would take their secrets to the grave. Within weeks, they could send messages 3 lines long in under 20 seconds, something that took other soldiers half an hour to encode. By late 1942, they were deployed. Guadalcanal, Bougainville, Saipan, Iwo Jima. They carried radios through the jungle, crouched in foxholes, voices calm while bullets tore through leaves above them. Send coordinates. Reinforcements needed. Enemy retreating. Their transmissions sounded like ancient chants echoing through chaos. Strange music on the airwaves of war. Major Howard Connor, who led the Marines at Iwo Jima, later said, "Were it not for the Navajos, the Marines would never have taken Iwo Jima." During the first 2 days of battle, 6 code talkers sent over 800 messages. Every one of them accurate, everyone received in seconds. The Japanese were stunned. They captured radios, recorded transmissions, even sent linguists to study Native American languages. None came close. The Navajo code remained unbroken, the only code in modern warfare never deciphered by an enemy. But victory came at a cost. Many code talkers saw their friends die beside them. They were soldiers first, carrying rifles and memories. They watched jungles burn, ships sink, and skies rain fire. And when the war ended, they came home not to applause but to silence. Their mission was classified. They couldn't tell anyone, and not even their families, what they had done. Imagine returning home after years of battle only to have no one believe your story. Some went back to herding sheep. Some struggled to find work. Some never spoke again. For 24 years, their contribution was hidden behind government seals labeled top secret. The cruel irony. The same country that once tried to erase their language now owed its freedom to it. In the years after the war, many code talkers carried that pain quietly. They'd been called savages as children, forbidden to speak their mother tongue. Yet that tongue had saved countless American lives. When you think about that, it's almost biblical. What was once seen as weakness became salvation. What was silenced became song. In 1968, the program was finally declassified. The truth began to leak out, slowly, then with awe. The public learned that more than 400 Native Americans had served as code talkers across multiple tribes: Navajo, Comanche, Choctaw, Hopi, and more. Each group contributed their own language, their own patterns of thought that defied foreign logic. But even after the truth emerged, recognition came slowly. Many had already passed away. Those who lived to see the medals decades later accepted them humbly. They didn't call themselves heroes. They said, "We were just doing our duty." And that's what makes their story so powerful. The humility, the quiet pride, the invisible service. It's the kind of courage history often forgets because it doesn't scream for attention. When we listen to their voices now, preserved in old recordings, grainy radio transmissions, and interviews crackling with age, we're hearing something sacred. A link to a time before America was even born. A sound that survived genocide, displacement, and war, and still found its way into victory. Some of those men lived long enough to see their children graduate from schools that once punished them for being Navajo. Some visited Washington to see their medals displayed. One code talker said, with tears in his eyes, "When I used my language in war, I felt my ancestors standing beside me. I knew they were proud today, only a few remain alive. Their voices are fragile, their stories fading with each passing year. But every time someone tells their story, the silence breaks again. The language that once saved lives continues to echo through classrooms, museums, documentaries, and hearts. The lesson is bigger than war. It's about identity, about how every culture, no matter how small or suppressed, holds something the world might one day need. The code talkers didn't just help win a war, they reminded humanity that no knowledge is useless, no voice meaningless. History often glorifies the generals and presidents, but sometimes victory belongs to those whose names were never written in textbooks, the ones who whispered into radios and changed the course of history without ever being seen. When you think of Iwo Jima, think beyond the flag raised on the hill. Think of the young Navajo man sitting in a trench, headset on, speaking words his grandfather once spoke under starlight, while somewhere across the ocean, another Marine hears him and survives. That's the real picture of war. Courage wrapped in silence, power disguised as humility. And that's why Legacy Untold exists, to resurrect stories like this. To remind us that history isn't just what's written, it's what's whispered, hidden, and rediscovered by those who care enough to listen. So if this story moved you, if it made you see history not as a list of events, but as a living heartbeat, then do something that keeps these voices alive. Like this video, share it, and subscribe to Legacy Untold, because the past isn't gone and it's waiting for someone like you to hear it, honor it, and keep its legacy alive.